Hi, welcome to the You're Overqualified podcast. Your friendly reminder that you are overqualified in many ways of what it is that you are probably trying to do or are doing. I'm Danny Tan. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of She Belongs Here, an organization that focuses on helping women in leadership as well as organizations to uplift all of us when it comes to the spaces that we're in. And so, a little background on me: I'm Danny Tan. I pivot careers 5 times: PR, sales, merchandising, e commerce, you name it, all while achieving 11 promotions in 11 years. I am a former VP of a billion-dollar organization where I went ahead and went from being a people manager of building, hiring, leading teams to going all in to entrepreneurship to help women individually and organizations really pursue what they want to pursue, whether it's building wealth, building expertise, or being able to build something for themselves and make their exit out of corporate and to go into entrepreneurship. And so let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. We're going to be talking about logic and the fear that comes with logic. So I actually did a workshop. It may have been a few weeks ago, depending on when this episode airs, where I was talking about fear and how it can kind of come up and essentially block us. So just as like an FYI, if you are one of my clients, a current or a past client, I always offer workshops. So even after we stop working together, I'm offering typically a workshop like either monthly, quarterly, it just depends on the schedule. And that's when I bring together all my current clients as well as my past clients to host on particular topics that are pretty prevalent based off of questions and concerns and thoughts people are having. And so the one of the ones that we did was based on fear. And so that was a really popular hot topic, and we're actually going to do a part two of it. So if you are a current or past client and you're hearing this, know that that's part two of that fear workshop is going to be coming up probably in a month or so. So we'll talk about that because that was a very popular one. And if you are not a client yet and you're looking to become one, just know that when you do become a client, we don't just work together one-on-one. You get to meet all my other amazing clients as well in these beautiful workshops, connect, meet, network, which is also super fun too, and feel like you're not alone in this process. And so anyhow, since this topic was so popular, I decided to bring it to the podcast so you can kind of hear a little bit about what we talked about and how we kind of work through the idea of fear. Now, here's a big thing. When we go into coaching, we're like, okay, what's the plan? What's the strategy? What are the action items? And I'm the first person to say, hey, what are your top goals? What is it that we're going to focus on to make things work? What is the plan? But the big thing that comes up are the emotions. And so many of my clients call me and they tell me that I'm a mixture of facts and feelings. I truly believe that our feelings are signals for something more. And so they're either telling us we need some kind of evidence or data to back the emotions that are coming up, or we need some kind of systems and support. And so that's why we decided to talk about fear, because fear is a big one that comes up when it comes to these things that we're trying to pursue. So, for example, I work with one-on-one clients privately in like 3 or 6 month segments. I have clients that come to me, they want to work together on getting a promotion. Maybe it's they're an individual contributor and they're looking to become like a subject matter expert at what they do, or they're trying to become a first time like leadership role or people manager, or they're trying to build something for themselves because now they have all this expertise in these promotions and titles and now they want to go into consulting or start their own business. So the big thing that comes up is you will probably know and are familiar with you're super hardworking, you're motivated, you're dedicated, you're driven, you're ambitious. And so all of those skills got you to a certain point of where you're at. And so now you're trying to achieve something a little bit more. And so you need a new set of skills in order to help achieve that. And so a lot of us that are like doers, executors, like the go-to person for everything is amazing. But also when you're trying to go into roles that are more strategic, more visionary, more building outside of just being the one doing, you have to have a different set of skills in order to help support that. Now, here's what happens is when we try to step into that new identity, right? That new identity of, let's say, first time people manager or a leadership role, right? It can feel uncomfortable. We've never been in that. We've been doing what we've been doing for so long. And so these emotions will start to come up and we'll think like, okay, I need the perfect executive presence, or I need the perfect presentation script, or I need the perfect pitch for how to talk about myself. And those things are important too. But a lot of the times, the reason why we're stuck in familiar patterns is because they're familiar. They're comfortable. They're familiar. We love them. They're super cozy. And so it can feel kind of scary to jump into something new. and to try something new. That's why discomfort is called discomfort, and it's uncomfortable, right? And it's growth, but that's how you grow. And so what I want to talk about how is when maybe you're having this friction or this resistance, even though you know you want to achieve something, even though you know you want to make something happen, you feel like stuck, like you can't take action. It's kind of like your feet are in cement and you're trying to pull out, you're trying to get out of the cement, but you can't do it. Even though someone's giving you the rope, you're like, I just don't know how to do this. And so we'll talk about today how can fear kind of sneak up on you? And it can feel like very logical, where we almost kind of like like, we talk ourselves out of doing something. That fear doesn't always show up as like panic. I think a lot of the times we think of fear as if like I'm on a cliff and I'm like scared and I'm nervous and I'm sweating and I'm kind of like shaking. And the reality is that it can feel very reasonable. It can actually feel like a couple of things. When we think about our goals and things we want to achieve, it can also feel like, oh, like the timing just isn't right. Or it can feel like, oh, I need a little bit more experience first. Or, what if I apply and I don't get it? Like you're just trying to be logical with yourself, right? What if I succeed and then I have to keep performing at this level? That's like so scary. And so that's the thing that's really sneaky when it comes to fear and how it can sometimes come off as logic, is that it sounds like super practical, really smart. And that's the issue. That's the true problem, is that fear sounds like wisdom sometimes. And so you don't question it. And so you stay where you are because you've essentially reasoned your way out of what it is you're trying to go for. And so if you're somebody who has maybe talked yourself out of a salary ask or a promotion conversation or going for a project that's maybe like has higher visibility, and you told yourself that it was like a practical choice, I want you to think through this episode a little bit, because here's the first thing that I want to break down that we talked about in this workshop was fear versus intuition, how to kind of tell them apart. Now I think it's not like so clean cut black and white between fear and intuition, how to tell them apart, but this is the things that I want you to kind of notice, right? So, when it comes to fear, your nervous system is trying to protect you from things that are uncomfortable, right? They're trying to protect you and keep you safe. And so, discomfort can feel uncomfortable. And so, it's trying to think, oh, I don't want her to fail. I don't want there to be judgment. And so, it can be very, very, very loud, and it can be very, very circular and vague in the sense of like this dread. And you're constantly spinning like the worst case scenarios, or you're actually avoiding something. So that's like what fear can feel like in your nervous system. I want you to think about like times that you were really scared, of how did you feel in your body in general? Like how'd your body feel? What were the thoughts in your mind, and what was kind of happening, right? So that's how it'll show up from a fear perspective. Intuition typically is, drawing on past patterns that have been experienced or observed or absorbed. And so usually it's not this thing where you're like constantly spiraling, worst case scenarioing, or completely avoiding, right? It's something where you're kind of like, I noticed this, I witnessed this, and I feel like, this feels familiar where I've been before, of like, maybe this is not a good situation that I want to repeat again. And so that's a difference between the two. But I think the biggest thing that you can think about is like, what was a time you were actually super scared or nervous or had a lot of fear? And then what was that feeling in your body? And a good way you could think about it too is, what was the last time you did something that was really scary, but you wanted to pursue it? And what were the feelings then? Because that's probably going to tell you like, oh, okay, that one time I wanted to learn how to get off the bunny hill and go on the ski lift. I remember having all these emotions of like tenseness, worry, thinking about the worst case scenarios. But when I got up there, I was actually happy that I did it. So thinking about that, so that way you're not going in cold, of how to repeat this for yourself in a way that you want to. And that's the part that's most important, is this thought giving me more information, or is it trying to protect me from discomfort? I want to say that one more time. So when I'm having these thoughts about something, are the thoughts trying to actually give me more information, or are they trying to protect me from discomfort? And you might be like, oh, it's both. But the thing is, though, if it's protecting me from discomfort, is it actually stopping me from taking action that I want to take action in? And so I want you to just understand, like, if it feels like a practical reason, I really, really, really want you to question yourself and say, like, underneath this, what is it really happening? Am I avoiding? Is it embarrassment? Is it rejection? Is it trying to have this fear of proving myself? Is that the true fear? And that's how you're going to have more grounded evidence on what this path is and if it is not aligned, right? So, like, if I'm choosing not to do something, why is it? Is that true logic and reason? And if I'm not sure, what is the emotion behind it that's driving it? That's what I want you to think about. And then that's how you'll start to understand what that looks like. So, for example, one of my clients, she had shared the story that she was nervous when it came to presenting in meetings. And the reason why was because she was worried about the dynamics of her and her manager. She basically didn't want to step on her manager's toes. And so what she would do is she would just not say much in the meeting. She didn't want to like rock the boat because she thought it was going to be stepping on her manager's toes. She realized that in reality, it was actually never that. She never even asked her manager about it. Her manager never said anything about it. It was actually she was avoiding it because she was scared of being seen and failing. What if she said something and it wasn't actually right? And so just thinking about how sometimes we will reason and logic our way of yeah, like I don't wanna speak and overstep and, step on somebody's toes, but in reality, we're giving ourselves reasons, logics, or excuses on, why not to share because we're scared of the fear and the judgment. And so how can we notice if that's a thing? And so the thing that I would always say is like, how do you collect the data to support that? So the data would be, has your manager ever told you that you're stepping on their toes? Have you ever spoken in a meeting and that experience has happened? And if not, then that's not data to support your theory. And that's the biggest thing to figure out. So is that truth in the sense of what it is that you're the narratives that we're telling ourselves. And so once she was able to start to notice that and be like, oh, it's actually these fears of being seen, these fears of failing, these fears of what if I'm seen difficult, if I disagree, and realizing that no one had ever told her not to speak, she was just creating that narrative in her mind based off of those fears. And so many different ways to go about it. Of like, one, are you happy that that is what's the driving factor behind it? Are you okay with that? And if not, then what do you want to do about it, right? And if you are not sure about your manager's perspective, what's the best way to clear that air and figure out to ask the question, right? So that's what the next piece I want to go into that we talk about in the workshop. So I developed this framework that's called the evidence ladder. And it's because we typically have a goal that we want to achieve, but sometimes it feels like super far away. And taking the action item to get there feels, oof, like way too big. And I actually did a podcast episode on this too. And so here's the thing that I want you to think about is that we are always going to think about, oh, I want to wait to be ready, or I want to build my skill set, or I want to get more experience, or I need to build my confidence. But the thing is that confidence doesn't come before action, right? So you have to take action to actually build your confidence. So confidence comes from action. So for example, if you're really scared of presenting, you're not going to be sitting in your room talking to yourself and one day you're going to have 100% confidence to go present. It comes from the practice of actually doing it, taking action. And so that's what you can't think your way out of a belief. You have to build the belief towards what it is that you want to do. And so wanting to feel ready itself is a fear response that's trying to sound responsible or logical. So the thing that I want you to think about is if you do want to do or claim something, whether that is present in a meeting or make an ask for a promotion or make an ask for a negotiation for a salary, you don't have to necessarily, I want you to think about what it is you want to achieve, and then I want you to think about like what's the belief that's kind of stopping you. That's the second piece. What's the belief that's kind of stopping you? Is it I'm not ready, I don't have enough of this, that, they won't take me seriously? What is that belief that's coming in? And then the next piece is I want you to list every piece of evidence that contradicts that belief, right? So, for example, if it is promotion and I'm not ready, what's all the evidence that helps contradict that belief? Is it okay? Well, I've done this project and I, got this positive feedback and I hit my objectives and I had a good performance review. Like I want you to list that out and I need you to read it out loud because here is the thing: is that a lot of the times we don't actually integrate the things that we have done and accomplished. Which, if we don't integrate it, then we don't believe it, right? And if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. I always say that. And so this is one of the ways and one of the practices in order to do that is to be able to essentially, one, identify what it is you want to achieve, two, figure out what beliefs are blocking that, three, then create contradicting evidence, basically go to court with yourself and create a case as to, wait, that's not true. Here's all the things that I've done. And then the next step is to integrate it by, one of my clients calls it like brainwashing. I'm like, I'm telling you to brainwash yourself essentially so that we know that because really your thoughts and your beliefs, they have so much power over, what becomes your reality. And so if you, again, don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And so that's the thing that I want you to think about is building the evidence to create this ladder that will allow you to take action and to build confidence, right? And the thing is that you're never going to feel 100% ready. And so you're building a case to kind of help, you have that case in order to help fight that fear. to win the argument with yourself. And so here's the thing when it comes to the ceilings of these beliefs and where they come from, right? Because this is something that we dove deep into in this session with my clients is, where do these beliefs even come from? Because here's the scary part is we were surfacing lots of things in this workshop of, well, maybe I don't think I'm smart, or maybe I don't think I am the most organized, or maybe I don't think I'm good academically, but I'm really great creatively. Like all these different beliefs are coming up. And the thing is that your past can sometimes create this what feels like a ceiling on yourself. And so these beliefs aren't random. They have come from somewhere. And so it's your time to go ahead and like dismiss the ones that are not true. And so you have to review for yourself, like where were you told, oh, you're not quite there yet, or you're not that smart, or you're not that great. You have to really look back at that and think about like, who said that? Is that really valid? Do I want to give it that much power? And understand that piece for yourself. You don't want your current decision making for yourself and your thought process for yourself to be running on old data from that third grade teacher, or old data from your mom who was still trying to figure out how to be a mom, or the old data from your manager who themselves don't really know how to be a manager. And so just trying to understand where these beliefs or thoughts have come from, and do you still find them valid, and do you still want to give them that much weight, right? I've had clients who have told me like, oh, I've been told I speak too quickly, I don't present well, or I don't have enough executive presence, or I'm too in the weeds, I'm not good at the strategy piece, or I was never really great when it came to numbers, but I'm really great at this. And so the thing is, though, is that one, who said we have to be great at everything? And two, those are moments in your life. Like no one came out the womb being amazing at everything. And so that might have been one phase in your life where that's something that you weren't the strongest at, but you may have evolved since then. And you're still like giving yourself no credit. You're giving yourself the same credit as like sixth grade you then versus you now when you're in your 40s. And so I just think it's really important to think about like, where did these beliefs come from? Are they still valid? Have we evolved since then? Do we even still respect that person's opinion who gave us that? And then also, what have we been working towards to make it happen? And we can also learn how to do things differently. And so I think the biggest thing that I want you to take away from all of this is that when it comes to our fears, I just don't want you to logic your way into doing the same thing that you have always done. And so I've been doing a lot of writing on my clients recently, and the big things that have come up is that my entire roster of clients, very driven women, very ambitious women, multiple degrees, a lot of the times more than one degree. They are either eldest daughters, or they're daughters of immigrants, or they're moms. And so a lot of the times they have constantly have the weight of the world on their shoulders in some way, shape, or form. They're mission driven. They're exceeding in their industry. They're exceeding in their roles. They're exceeding on their teams. A lot of the times it's that there are these inner narratives that have come from different people, different sources, different systems that have unfortunately been imprinted. And so the fact they have been imprinted can slow down the progress of being able to grow and develop and even make change in the world like on a bigger scale. And so the thing that I want you to take away from today, what we were taking away from the workshop when we were talking through it, was notice when you want to do something and you avoid it or talk your way out of it, and you think of it as logic or practical. And in reality, is it something that is more so in disguise as a different emotion, which is fear, and you're trying to protect yourself by doing the same thing? And so when we have been working so hard our lives from a place of survival, we have been fighting in fight or flight constantly. We will push our way through anything to survive, right? We'll push our way to make things work, to succeed, to get there for survival, whether that's like financially, whether that's for safety, whether that's for security. And so when we get to a place of like comfort and safety because we built that for ourselves, and now we're kind of like in a space of abundance and we can choose for ourselves, it doesn't feel like it makes any sense. And so when we're in that space, a lot of the times we decide to regress back to what we're familiar with. So if you're someone who's like, wait, I have built so many things for myself, and now I get to choose things from a place of wanting to choose them, from a place of safety, abundance, and security, and I keep going back to these patterns of fear and, scarcity, notice if that's coming up and if you're logically putting yourself back there. And how can you start to build evidence for yourself on how you are allowed to go ahead and grow and achieve the thing that you want to achieve. So, hopefully, this episode was a little bit helpful. I just want you to kind of notice when these things are coming up in disguise, and they will all the time. But this is the thing, and it will be repeated over and over again is that if you are somebody who is always trying to expand in capacity or growth or learn new skills or, break generational cycles and all this stuff, it's always gonna feel uncomfortable, right? And so if you've been doing it for a long period of time and you've been doing it from a place of survival, and now you get to do it from a place of like happiness and joy, it can feel like crazy. And so just thinking about how you can do it for yourself in a way that is going to let you get to where it is that you want to go because you deserve it. And you shouldn't let fear be the thing that, drives you away from what it is that you want to achieve. All right. Hopefully you found this helpful. And if you are curious of what it looks like to go after a goal that you want to go after and you feel like fear has been stopping you, then let's talk about working together. You can go to my website at dannytan.com